Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the AMX-30B2, and this French 8.7 battle rating medium tank is, well, strange. And in fact it's so similar to the Leopard 1 but at 8.7 that I think this is all the description that you need. But there are of course differences between the two vehicles. But what is this vehicle like, and what are my first impressions on it? Well, first of all, we're looking at the main armament of a 105mm CN105F1 cannon with 47 rounds, with a reload of 7.5 seconds for an A screw. So that is around about half a second longer than the Leopard's reload. And for all intents and purposes, it feels like an L7 gun variant. Then we also have a coaxial 20mm machine cannon with 1000 rounds, and in the very prominent cupola, a single 7.62mm machine gun. So this is the armament. What about the armor? Not very convincing. It's very similar to a Leopard, so you cannot hope to survive any normal tank shell. However, you can somewhat withstand SPAA, but not in the long run. They will find weak spots, shot traps, and cupola shots, whatnot. But not every single shot from an SPAA will kill you. Then we also have to look at the mobility, and this is a horsepower to ton ratio of under 20. It's around about 19. And your top speed is 65 kilometers an hour with a reverse speed of around about 27 kilometers an hour, which is good. But you're at 8.7, so that means nearly all the games that I played were up tiers into 9.0. And this is now very interesting when we talk about the meta, because you are actually always with the Russians and never against them. But in this tank it does not really help you. It just prevents a lot of frustration when it comes to the stock shell ammunition. More on this in a moment. Because you are facing a lot of tanks with equal or better horsepower to ton ratio, mobility, maneuverability, whatever, with stabilizers, which you don't have. This is why I compare it to the Leopard 1 and not the A1A1. So you have no stabilizer, okay, you have no armor, okay, and your mobility is not outstandingly good. It's average at this battle rating. So you have your sweetheart time getting into flanking position and not getting intercepted by enemy tanks before you can reach a cap or something like this. So you are forced to play very, very passive, play very opportunistic, and all this stuff. So it kind of reminds you about a lot of the stuff that I mentioned in the Big Leitpanzer 57 tank review. Yeah, 8.7 is not really nice. Now, also the few games where I was top tier were kind of hilarious because I was ultra top tier. The rest of my team was 7.7, and with this tank you are not the tank that can carry matches. You are not armored behemoth with a, very powerful gun and a stabilizer. You're still very fragile. So effectively, this tank is over-tiered. End of discussion. Then let's talk about the ammunition. And we have 4 shell types. The HE shell is useless, but strong for that caliber, but still useless. Then we have the stock heat shell, not heat FS, but heat shell. OCC 105F1 with 1000 meters per second muzzle velocity, so it's still good. Penetration 360 millimeters, but the post penetration effect is bad. It's bad and unreliable. So you need the tier 2 upgrade, which is the OFL 105F1 AP FSDS round with 348 millimeters of penetration. Yes, it is a bit less, but it is just much more reliable. You can fire through bushes, fences, even some house walls, and there is no fuse that can be prematurely detonated or triggered, and you have a great muzzle velocity of 1525 meters per second. Also, the price of just 400 silver lines is neglectable, I'd say, for the usual cost of top tier vehicles. By the way, the repair costs are under 9,000 silver lions. So, you know, a few good things, a few bad things going for it, but it's really the AP FSDS round that you need to use, or that you should use. Yes, if you're really saving a lot of money, or you want to, then you can go with the heat shell for some killing shots. You also could think about using the 20mm as some sort of anti-aircraft gun, or threaten them away. You have gun elevation of 20 degrees, and your turret rotation speed reaches 30 degrees per second for an ace crew. So not the worst gun handling. In this respect, a bit better in terms of turret traverse speed than the Begleitpanzer. Go figure. These are the raw stats. So when we think about it, it's great that you don't have to face the T-64A, or at least I never did. Because of the stock heat shell. It would be really, really annoying to trying to deal with this vehicle, and you have no other option. So yeah, tier 2 upgrade, AP FSDS, and you are prepared for dealing with most enemies. You have to play passive, you have to play safe, ambush position, you have to stop to give your gun a stable firing platform. So this is kind of where the most problems come from. And you always take damage out of nowhere. And this is kind of where the gaming meta comes in. First of all, you have to face a lot of very hyper aggressive enemy players that know how to use their KP-70 or their MBT-70. They are faster than you, more maneuverable. You have a stabilizer, fast turret traverse speed as well. They just will wreck you. Simple as that. You don't have the armor, you don't have the mobility, the maneuverability, and the gun handling to face them, and you will constantly face them. And even everything else can give you a lot of trouble. Even the Begleitpanzer, when he faces you, just can ruffle stomp you. Yes, you have a 20mm as backup, but it just is not the main selling point. It's a nice bonus, but not the selling point. And then, you know, there are tanks such as the Chieftain Mark 10 and Mark 5, which are very campy players, very passive players, much like some new KP-70 drivers that also sit in the back and just always ambush you. And you have a very damn hard time dealing with them at long ranges. You have no ATGM to back you up for the precise long range shots and so forth. So I like the tank. I like how it drives, I like how it looks. I can imagine a much better environment for it, and where it just could perform better. But it feels just, at this point in time, over-tiered. So here I switch over to the heat shell after I have disabled this guy. I can not penetrate the side of this Raketenjagdpanzer. Now he turns around and I can finish him, and you can see the post-penetration effect. It's a rather clear beam, so not a lot of fragmentation or side beams. So this is one of the drawbacks of the heat shell. Yeah, and that is basically the AMX-30B2. But what else is there to think about? First of all, it's the highest medium/main battle tank for the French so far. You have not the greatest CAS lineup at that battle rating. I mean, yeah, you can use an 84 Sky Raider and that just can wreck so many things. It's hilarious. But jet-wise, I mean, yes, there are possibilities with the gun pods and rocket pods and whatnot. I have not tried it too much, but it's a very nasty environment because of all the enemy SPAA. Furthermore, you have no backup tanks. The rest of the French tech tree is still limited to 7.7. Yes, there is the AMX-13 hot, but you know, the basis of this vehicle is I think you face it, you get it the first time at 3.3. Yes, you have a bit of stronger cannon, but it's still your 75mm that you get first at battle rating 6.0 if I'm not mistaken, and then you have just 6 hot rockets. So here, let me just show you the fight with this Kugelblitz. I pumped a heat shell through his engine, but it didn't matter. Now I used the 20mm to kill the last crew member with a side shot in the turret. So this is where the 20mm is kind of good. But again, it's a nice bonus. It's not your main selling point. Then we have the mobility issues. Another bug or problem that you have is when you go down a slope, at speeds of 40-45 kilometers an hour, your driver is constantly shifting up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. You have kind of the engine power and the gravitational force that pulls you down, so you should accelerate, but you don't, because the driver can't decide for the life of him which gear to use to accelerate. This is highly annoying. It's not the only tank that has this problem, and it still hurts you, because then you can reach a top speed of what I mentioned, 65 kilometers an hour. You just denied that. Now you can see me here, you know, looking into the enemy spawns. Battle is basically over. I had the fight at C, and now I try to make the best out of this battle. I have 4 kills so far, 1 capture zone, decent battle. And as you can see, I mostly used the AP FSDS round. One final thing to note is that the first ammunition that gets used is from the frontal ammo rack. So this might lead to you surviving some hits. In fact, I very often lost my commander, but nothing but my commander, maybe sometimes the driver, but ultimately I survived, because the frontal ammo rack is gone, but so many people just aim for it. And yeah, there is always ammunition in the back of the turret, so you can take out over half of your ammunition and you can survive a lot of engagements, which usually you would not survive. Can I get this Leopard? Yes, I can get him, and that's the end of the game. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. So for 1 capture zone and 6 kills, I got 46,000 silver lines and 5,000 vehicle research points and a survivor medal, which I like. This was, I guess, so far the best battle, and it's kind of the result that you can expect. That's it for me today. I kept it rather short. I hope you were not bored with the rundown of the statistics and numbers, but this is a nice vehicle. I like it, but it's still suffers from being a bit over-tiered and the very stiff competition at 9.0. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.